Hi everyone, I'm Donna from 91, and today with me is Kim Potgieter from Chartered Wealth Solutions. Kim, thank you so much for joining us. Welcome.
Donna, thanks for having me.
Brilliant. As Qwerty mentioned, this is our second event actually around financial education. We're particularly excited about women in investing in the series, and I know you are too, Kim. You were at our inaugural event last year. Tell us a bit about what you took out of it and why this cause is so important to you.
Well, I felt very privileged to be part of it last year. And what was incredible for me was that it started conversations. It started women chatting around investing and them getting the knowledge that they need so that they can make the decisions that they need to make so that they can be in charge of their money. And it's been wonderful with your hub, because you've got an incredible hub with all the different videos of different experts. And I think it's a wonderful initiative, and I think this year is just going to take it to that next level.
That's exactly what we're trying to achieve. We know it's a journey. And I mean, what we want to get stuck into today, really, Kim, is your money makeover. We know it's a book you've recently written last year. I'm going to hold it up just very quickly for our audience to see. It is available in exclusive books. But the really great thing about this is it starts introducing this concept around a makeover. What exactly is it?
So really for me, it was great timing of the book because we were coming through COVID. And I think for so many people going through that period, they came out and they realized they wanted to do it differently to the way they were doing it before. So what the makeover really is having a different relationship with money. First of all, understanding you have a relationship with money. And then seeing, is money your master or is money your servant? And this is really important because most people are on a hamster wheel, chasing, either more money, or if they've got lots of money, in total fear, if they're going to have enough or if something's going to happen to it. And what they do is they don't get to a stage where money starts working for them. And the whole goal of the book and conversation that we're having today is to say, it's simple. You just need to get started in having a better relationship with money where it becomes your servant and not your master. And I think to start it all off, it's important for you to first work out what it is you want. And the whole book and what we're chatting about is understanding that money and life are connected. So before you can look at your investing, you need to understand about your life. What do you want it to look like? Because if you leave your life to chance, other people are going to plan it for you. And my passion is that you get to choose your life and you live your best life enabled by your money.
So I love that quote. You know, I do love it because it gives you a sense of control when you don't leave stuff to chance. But when I think of a makeover, I think of something relatively big and requiring lots of effort. You know, I feel almost daunted by it from the beginning. But you seem to have outlined a few steps that make it a lot simpler. Do you want to chat us through those steps?
So it is a big thing where to start.
Yeah.
So for me, the first place that you always need to go is to pause. It's to take that step backwards and to say, I want to do this. Because you need to be brave and you need to be courageous. So you take the step backwards and you look at what you've got and you look at then who you are. So you start tuning in to who you are. And by tuning into who you are then able to connect with what that picture looks like of what you're trying to achieve. But importantly here is to start looking at your beliefs around money, those beliefs that have been serving you and those beliefs that haven't been serving you. So you need to do editing. And I think this is a big thing that's happened from the period of COVID, is we know we need to start editing out things that weren't working for us. And when we finished editing, we now have the part where we can actually go out there and play. We can go out there and have our life. But to do that, we need to then have our investments so that they can enable us to have the life we want. So we can't be sitting back and just saying, oh, it's just going to happen. We need to do the work. And that's why I said it is courageous work, but it's so doable if we are prepared to just decide that that's what we want for our lives.
It's quite a big choice, and when I listen to you speak about it and just talk us through these steps, I'm reminded of a book I recently read called Atomic Habits. And it's such an interesting, almost aha moment, because it's very simple. It's about, the idea of doing these small incremental changes every day that have a very big impact in the long term. And two things stood out for me and largely linked to what you were just saying. One is if, you have good habits, The intention is that's compound interest for your self-improvement. And the second thing, which is really interesting, which James Clear says, is that don't start necessarily with the end goal when you're trying to change a habit. Start with that process on who you want to become, the person you want to identify most with. And if I think about it in very simple terms, if I wanted to run more, I guess I could say my goal is to run a marathon, but actually what he's saying is whether you run 1 kilometer or 10 kilometers, identify as a runner so that when you get to the marathon, it's almost inconsequential. And I think, you've shared with us previously that you've been through your own personal journey, had to develop habits and better habits. Maybe talk us through that and how you've translated that into good, successful money management.
So Donna, it's so good that you mention Atomic Habits and James Clear, one of my favorite books. And while I was busy writing Midlife Money Makeover, I happened to be reading it. And while I was doing it, I was thinking, but it's so easy to have good money habits. And then I had to stop myself and say, it's so easy for you, Kim, because this is what you know.
Yeah.
What about other people that don't necessarily talk money all day and it's their passion? And then I started using the Atomic Habits work about my weight. I've always struggled with my weight. And it was either, I had to lose 20 kilos. And then generally by week 2, I'd stopped.
Given up, yeah.
Given up. It was just too overwhelming. So I've actually mentioned it in the book, funny enough. And I talk around how do you bring in these habits. And for me, what was really helpful was that I needed to bring in. It didn't need to be easy always. I often felt that things needed to be easy to do them. And it doesn't have to be easy. That was the one thing. And the second one is that it just has to be consistent. So I needed to know that every morning I was going to wake up and run.
Okay.
Not once and then, or 5 times in 1 week and then not. So I consistently did it. And that has really helped me with this journey. It's the same with our money. If we get into the habits of putting away, watching it grow, it all turns around and all of a sudden it's not as difficult. But where it's so daunting is when we haven't started and we go, I'm not that person, I don't know how that's ever going to happen for me. So really important is just small steps, not everything, otherwise you become overwhelmed.
For sure. I mean, also you talk about this mindset as well. I mean, do you want to share around just your thoughts from the book and from your experience, how to get rid of that financial anxiety or stress that can inundate people actually? I mean, you've seen many clients, you've spoken to many people, you've done the work. What are your other tips to help us have a successful relationship with money?
So the big one is our mindset. If we believe that money is scarce, it will be scarce. So, if we believe that we're not good with money, I mean, the number of people that I meet that go, I don't do money.
Yeah.
And then I kind of end
Well,
up...
I'm bad with money, right?
I'm bad
That's
with
what people
money.
say, yeah.
Or only people that have got, people who've got lots of money are bad people. Now, if those are our beliefs, that then becomes our reality. So it's so important to really change the story in our head. And if that story is something like, I'm never going to have money, I'm no good at investing, I'm just not going to do it, you've lost.
Yeah.
Whereas if you change it and you go, money can be my enabler, I can get good at money because guess what? There are a whole lot of certified financial planners out there. Days like this where you can learn from the experts. And if you take that knowledge, get yourself a coach or certified financial planner and control what your brain is telling you, you're on the right track to having a good relationship with money.
And so I want to be sort of realistic, Kim, because of course not everything goes our way. There are times when it doesn't work, and despite the work we've put in or the tips we've followed or the habits we think we've developed, it's pretty disappointing when you don't get to the outcome. And I think just from a financial point of view in particular, it can be really despondent. You've done all this work around it. What did you say we need to do next? What's advice you could give us around that?
So Donna, I think it's going back to where I started on the makeover. It's to pause. When things are going wrong, we spiral, and we can spiral down so quickly. And if we spiral down too quickly, we don't think clearly, we become emotional, and we make our worst decisions.
Yeah.
And we know when we're going through transitions and things going wrong, when we act emotionally, we sabotage all the good we've done. So it's pausing again, in tuning in, editing again, and then going out there and being able to play. But be kind to yourself. Don't be hard on yourself, because if you are hard on yourself and you say, I failed, then that is going to become the reality. Whereas just taking a step backwards, you're all of a sudden back in control of your destiny with your money.
I think that's such sage advice, being kind to yourself and remaining in control as far as possible makes for a massive difference in terms of how you approach successful money management. I mean, Kim, I think that's a good place for us to start closing off, but maybe before we go, anything more you want to share or comment on for our audience, in this money makeover journey?
So I think my biggest tip that I want to share with everybody is to pay yourself first. People often think that is selfish, especially women. They want to give their money to absolutely everybody and in their families. But it is so importantly that when your salary comes into your bank account, that a portion of that is invested, because that money then can be compounding and it can be growing to enable all those goals and dreams. But if you're not paying yourself first and you're using your money at the end of the month and what's left over to do your investing, often that doesn't happen. So that would be what I would wish for everybody, that they could get into that habit.
Kim, a massive thank you for joining us today. You've shared so freely and so openly. We appreciate the insight, and I'm sure for myself and the audience out there, it also kickstarts our journey and our money makeover to a more successful and healthier relationship with money. Thank you very much, and thank you to you guys.
Thank you, Donna.